Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming out and being a part of a new and beautiful tradition here in the town of Groton. I want to thank, first of all, the people who put this event together, the DEI committee. You know, they've been really listening to the community about the types of events that we want to see here in Groton. They do a pride flag raising. We did a celebration of the march, the anniversary of the March on Washington, and now a Black History Month flag raising. So I just really want to thank, you know, that whole group of people. It's all volunteer time, so, you know, I just want to thank them all. And it's very much a team effort. You know, everybody comes with their ideas, and we work as a group to get things done. But I do think it's appropriate to single out one person who did exceptional work on this event, and that's Councilor Bordelon. You know, she came with this idea, and she said, hey, I think that this is an important thing. I think it's important that we do it on the first day of Black History Month, because every day, you know, every day is important of Black History Month. We should celebrate from the first day to the last day. And really, she put in a lot of the work, asking all these people to come here, inviting people, the speakers, and really organizing. So I just really want to thank her for that. And if I could just say one last thing, because I can get out of the way here, we got a lot of very impressive speakers to say, is that Portia is one of the strongest advocates for the Black community that I know. I consider her a great friend. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the MC for tonight's event, Councilor Bordelon.
All right, here we are. I couldn't be any more excited to stare out into this crowd today. This started off as a thought, as a vision, as just a small idea, as a way of bringing together the community that I love, that I grew up in. Graduate from Fitch High School, decided to raise my two children here, and to stand out here today and see Fitch students that took the time to come on the bus and be a part of this is just absolutely amazing. As a Black female in this community, as we all know, as a woman who's transitioned to appreciate her natural hair, sometimes in the community I was told, oh, your hair might scare people, or it's too much for certain folks. And today I stand up here in the town that I grew up in, wearing the hair now that I feel comfortable, in the skin that I feel comfortable being in here, and representing my community. As an elected official on the Groton Town Council, one of the reasons I got involved was because I did not see people in my community that were in higher office in our community that looked like me. And that's why I got involved. As a mother of two children, it's carried on. Names like Dr. Mitchell, who was the superintendent, vice superintendent of Town of Groton. Leaders that I looked up to. Ivy Williams, a science teacher, an African-American woman at Fitch High School. That's all I had. So I'm a strong advocate for making sure our community reflects the diversity and the representation that is here. It was only 1967 when actually interracial marriage was passed and abolished as being illegal. Many people say, oh, that was so long ago, or that was not really anything that's happened recently. But to a woman who happens to be biracial, who looks African American, and who raises interracial children, 1967 to a person who was born in 1979, you cannot tell me that that was not that long ago. I stand here today in hopes to bring our community together, ways to look at our differences and our diversity, differences of opinions, difference of ways of life and style, to come together and be one. Martin Luther King spoke many times, and he didn't just speak for the Black community or the black and brown community. He spoke for everyone that was different, with disabilities, people who struggled to find their way, women. And so as we move forward today, I celebrate this, I'm excited, and I'm so, happy to see the people that are here. I want to thank our newly appointed mayor, Juan Melendez, for recognizing me today and his hard work and belief and pulling this together. Along with a lot of the town staff, the town manager, if you could just raise your hand, John, Mr. Burt, who, we were texting and calling and trying to organize this. The DEI collaboration, anyone who serves on that committee here, if you could raise your hand, thank you for helping organize this and making my vision come to light. With that, I'd like to start to call up Pastor Coleman. His name is Reverend Pastor Joseph L. Coleman. He's from St. John's Christian Church here in Groton. His church, I must say, is strategically located right outside of an area that has the highest number of minorities. And I just don't know how you landed that spot, but you're an influence to that community. He's a speaker and definitely a voice. He's not a man who just practices what he preaches on Sunday, but you can see him out there handing out food, helping the community, and being a guidance and a voice for them. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Pastor Coleman for a few words and opening us up with prayer.
This is a great day, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to live to see this, especially in the town of Groton, who has a rich history. But to have this day where you're celebrating black history, it makes me want to cry. And I thank God that I'm a part of it. Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you. First of all, we want to thank you for this day. We want to thank you for all the people who have come out to celebrate this day. Bring us closer together. Bring us nearer to each other. And may this be the start of something great and wonderful in this town. I thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Coleman. Thank you for opening us up. At this time, I'm going to call up Councilor Andre Baumgartner, to introduce our keynote speaker. Councilor Baumgartner.
How we doing, Groton? It's great to be with you all today. Before I introduce our wonderful keynote speaker, I'd like to just acknowledge a few dignitaries in the crowd. I see a handful of RTM members. If you just want to raise your hand if you're on the RTM. Some town councilors. I see we have Representative Chris Conley, Senator Heather Summers, and obviously our students from Fitch High School. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes. The Board of Ed, yes. Our Deputy Superintendent and Superintendent, Susan Austin, various department heads. I see Parks and Rec Director Mark Berry, Chief Asaro, and our new Human Resources Director, Arnisha Green. Yeah. And distinguished guests, thank you so much for coming out to join us. Now, it is with great honor and privilege that I introduce our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker made a very long trek from Hartford to join us today. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome Comptroller Natalie Braswell. So Comptroller Natalie Braswell is completing the term of her friend and former colleague, the wonderful Kevin Lembo, who resigned due to health issues on December 31st, 2021. She was appointed by Governor Ned Lamont. As our state's comptroller, she leads the Office of State Comptroller, providing accounting and financial services for our state, administering employee and retiree benefits, developing accounting policy, exercising accounting oversight, and preparing financial reports for state, federal, and municipal governments and the public. Comptroller Braswell served for 10 years as General Counsel and Assistant State Comptroller under Lembo. As the agency's chief legal officer, she negotiated and drafted a number of technology, healthcare, pharmacy, and consulting contracts with statewide impact, and served as a chief negotiator for transformative agreements to modernize service delivery and save taxpayer dollars. Braswell played a critical role in the development of fiscal policy, retirement security programs, healthcare initiatives, and other key agency operations. Prior to her appointment, Braswell served as the Chief of Planning, Legal, and Regulatory Affairs at the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. She was an associate attorney at Updike, Kelly & Spilacci, PC, where she practiced in the areas of municipal finance, public law, general corporate law from 2007 to 2011. She is the former vice president of the George W. Crawford Black Bar Association and UConn Law School Foundation Board of Directors, and currently sits on the board of directors for the Connecticut Urban Legal Initiative. Braswell is a triple Husky, having attended the University of Connecticut, where she earned a BA in political science, a master's in public administration, and a JD from the School of Law. She lives in Bloomfield with her husband, Rob, her daughter, Gabby, and their dog, Dog. So without further ado, please give a warm Groton welcome to Comptroller Braswell.
What a fantastic turnout. This is so awesome. I always sound better on paper than I actually think I am, so I thank you for the very warm welcome. I'm Comptroller Natalie Braswell. I want to thank the organizers today for inviting me, especially Portia and Andre, the mayor, and members of the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Initiative, and all of Groton's other leaders who brought us here together. Like I said, this is just really an awesome event. To look out and see this crowd and seeing that all of you have come out for the raising of a flag for Black History Month, that's just so powerful to me. After all we've endured during the pandemic, it's great to experience a sense of community actually in person and not over Zoom or Teams or something like that. This is one of the first public events I myself have been to since probably the summer of 2020. It was a wave of organized protest following the high-profile killings of African American men and women across the nation. We are all very familiar with names like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, and countless others, remembered with hashtags imploring people to say their names. The blatant injustice of those killings spurred thousands into action, taking to the streets to finally say enough is enough. I was one of those people. Donning masks during the first COVID summer, I stood on the steps of the Supreme Court with dozens of other Black female attorneys. I like to call them my sisters in the law. Together, we proclaimed that the evidence of injustice faced by Black people in America was overwhelming. And with fists raised, we stood in silence for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. And I think we all know what those 9 minutes and 29 seconds signify. The amount of time a police officer knelt on George Floyd's neck while he cried out for his mother until he took his last breath. While we were a group of Black attorneys standing together, we were also Black mothers, Black daughters, Black wives, Black sisters, Black aunties. And while those protests shone a bright spotlight on American injustice, throughout American history, often in the shadows, Black women have been fighting to take action. Bear with me as it's cold and I'm trying to get my paper to move. In the fight for civil rights in America, Black women have steadily led the way for centuries. Black women led the Underground Railroad. Think of where we would be if not for Harriet Tubman. We're the unsung leaders of the suffrage movement, with people like Sojourner Truth standing up and proclaiming that she too was a woman in the fight for the feminist movement and the right to vote. We have people like Shirley Chisholm, who paved the way for constitutional protections against sex discrimination. And Black women continue today to be the most consistent voting bloc in the United States when it comes to standing up for marginalized people. In 2021, Black women were on the front lines of the battle to save the Republic and preserve the democracy that we all cherish so much. Women like Stacey Abrams, Latasha Brown, Wanda Mosley, Tamika Mallory, and many others, including, I'm sure, Portia, and the other Black women that are standing with us today. Black History Month is a time to reflect on the courage and sacrifices of those who came before us, and we should. But today I'm asking my fellow Black women, young and old, to write the next chapter in history. While Black women are certainly not an ideological monolith, we do have a shared understanding of how policies are interconnected and how leadership in state capitals, in boardrooms, in courthouses, and in schools affect change throughout our community. For me, now the first Black woman to serve as comptroller, I see this in healthcare, where unconscious bias and lack of political urgency continue to result in racial disparities. At the intersection of race and gender, moms of color and their babies still face a higher mortality rate than their white neighbors. I see it in education, where opportunity largely depends on your zip code, and the school-to-prison pipeline adds each individual tragedy into a collage of generational crisis. I see it in employment, where women still don't earn pay equal to their male counterparts, and women of color fare worse most of all. I see it in government throughout the country, where legislatures and local boards do not reflect the communities they serve, except for here in Groton, because you guys are doing a great job reflecting the community that you serve. We have yet in the 245 years of America's existence elected a single Black woman as governor. History will judge us on how we respond to these challenges and others like them. So today, I ask you to celebrate our heroes, mourn those we've lost, and commit to taking action. Please organize in your community, similar to what you're doing here today. Change happens the fastest at the local level. Engage with your neighbors, help them register to vote. Hold a food drive or volunteer with your local charity. Look for opportunities where we can all uplift each other. Harness the same energy that we brought to the streets in the summer of 2020 and use it to hold elected officials accountable. Your government works for you, not the other way around. Not enough politicians act like it. Our collective action can inspire real change, and that doesn't work. And if any of that doesn't work, run for office. Yes. The lack of diversity in government means we're also lacking empathy, perspective, and critical knowledge. I don't know who in this room needs to hear this, but your voice is needed and you are ready to serve. To see a flag honoring Black history raised next to a government building today is a powerful symbol of the progress we've made. And as I conclude my remarks, I want to be sure to take a moment to truly reflect on that, because it really, really is remarkable. But progress is not a boulder rolling downhill. It's a hard, relentless work that we've been enduring for centuries. Our history is full of heartbreak and violence and injustice, but our history also provides countless examples, overwhelming evidence that even a small act of courage is contagious, and we're all at our strongest when we're courageous together. Thank you.
Woo! Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, that was awesome, thank you. Wow, let's give her another hand. That was just amazing. And I'm so thankful that she was able to come down here to be with us. At this time, I want to thank Betsy McCousher for putting together a proclamation. Last year, we read a proclamation at the Town Council on the very last day at the Town Council meeting. Today, we're going to read it on the first day. And tonight, I encourage you to tune in to the Town Council meeting. Juliet Parker will be reading it at our meeting. But as of right now, I'd like to welcome Councilor Baumgartner to read this proclamation and declare February 1st kicking off our Black History Month.
So, proclamation recognizing Black History Month. Whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas Black History Month grew out of the establishment in 1915 of Negro History Week by Carter G. Woodson and the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas the 2020 national theme for the observance is Black Health and Wellness, and acknowledges the legacy of not only Black scholars and medical practitioners, but also all the birth workers, doulas, midwives, naturopaths, and herbalists. And whereas in the still overhanging shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic, Black people must decry the inequalities intentionally fostered into systems to limit the well-being in all forms of Black lives. Black communities must look to the past and embrace the rituals, traditions, and healing methods of ancestors. And whereas the town of Groton is committed to an inclusive community where all citizens are respected and recognized for their contributions and potential contributions to our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved, in recognition of African Americans in our community, the Groton Town Council does hereby proclaim February 22nd, February 2022 to be Black History Month, and encourages all citizens to concentrate on their well-being and to continue activities that fosters a world that is more just, peaceful, and safe for everyone. Dated at Groton, Connecticut, this first day of February 2022, signed by our mayor, Juan Melendez, the town of Groton. And before I give up the mic, just want to give a big hats off to my sister in service, Portia Bordelon, for your hard work in this community, but really, pouring your heart and soul into this event. This is a beautiful turnout, and I think this is the testament to who you are as a person, the work you do, and I love you, sis.
All right. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to welcome Raven Kelly Dinwiddie. She is a powerful and talented wife, UCLA graduate, actress, singer, and social justice advocate. She appeared in A Time to Kill, Ghost of Mississippi, and What's Love Got to Do with It. She was the first Black child actress on TV series and Bumpy the Vampire Slayer. Sorry, my eyesight I still have tracking issues. I apologize. And sung with Nat King Cole, Kirk Franklin, Shaka Khan, Stevie Wonder. She has appeared on many stages, from Hollywood Bowl to the Grand Ole Opry. She is here to sing the Black National Anthem. Please welcome Raven Kelly Dinwiddie. And I must say to that list that she's a true friend.
Thank you, sis. Love you, love you. As we stand out here today, everyone, I want you to think about right now, most of us are probably wearing 2 or 3 layers of clothing, right? And we're still cold, yes? Okay. And can we see we have sunlight still? Yes? Okay. And are we in cold bodies of water at all? No, we are not. But guess who was? Millions of slaves, not hundreds, not thousands, but millions of slaves traveling to cross the Mason-Dixon line to freedom. Okay? So I want you to take that in count right now. And not a lot of people talk about it because a lot of times we focus on the deep South as where slavery was, but there was slavery in Rhode Island. There was slavery in Connecticut. Okay? So New England states did have slavery as well. And oftentimes the slaves would have to go through different bodies of water. We passed the Pequannock Bridge and also the Pawcatuck River, and we see all those different bodies of water. Next time you look at any body of water in New England, think about how many slaves walked through weather colder than what we're experiencing right now without their Michael Kors jacket or their REI or their Patagonia jackets, in the cold, in the dark, without a GPS. So think about that. Suddenly we're all a lot more warmer, aren't we, everybody? All right. And I just want to thank everyone today for coming out. Give yourselves all a big round of applause. Everybody, when I say Groton, you say Black History. Groton. I can't hear you. Groton. Groton. All right, everyone. Let's honor our ancestors. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as a listening skies. Let it resound loud as a rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. Oh, we have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from our gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who has brought us thus far on the way. Thou who has by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. I said, shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
Wow, let's give her another hand. Beautiful. And this is definitely not the best singing mic as you hear it echo. So that was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Moving on down in our program, I'd like to recognize and bring forward Ariana Stanberry to the podium, or to the mic. Ariana Stanberry, also known as True, is a graduate of Robert E. Fitch High School, a Berklee College, also the Berklee College of Music graduate, living here in Groton, Connecticut. Ariana is here today to share a few words about their experience as Black women living in this town and what this event means to them. Thank you, and I'm honored to have you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ariana Stanberry. I also go by True. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you again to Portia for having this event. As I stand here before you today, I am an alumni of Robert E. Fitch High School. As I stand here today, I am an alumni of the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. As I stand here today, I am a saxophonist, a singer, a musician, an artist, a Black woman. But also, as I stand before you today, I am a citizen of the town of Groton who has never witnessed an event like this happening in our town before. And that right there speaks volumes. I came to the town of Groton at the age of 6 as an immigrant from Jamaica. Jamaica will forever be my home, but Groton and Mystic has been my temporary home for the past 16 and a half years. So you could say I've been around for a little while now. And because I've been around, I've been able to observe things as a child, a teenager, and now a young adult living in this town. Meaning, I have the ability to call out some hypocrisies that I've witnessed. With that being said, the silence that has existed in this town when it comes to amplifying Black voices has spoken loudly. We see examples of politically correct ways to portray diversity and progressiveness sprinkled into our town, but where is the available space for us making up that diverse population to share our voices? Where are the signs in our town that make it clear that Groton is a safe space for members of the Black community? There has been so much silence. Where is the support for Black voices? Where was the support when my family member got racially profiled at a drug test at a Fitch High School dance? Where was the support when a high school classmate of mine told the AP US history teacher that there should be more Black history taught in the curriculum, and he responded saying that there's already enough? At Fitch High School, right up the street. Where is the support? You might be thinking, well, Groton does support Black people, and you're not wrong. A few people here and there showed up to the Black Lives Matter protest in 2020 when it was popular and trendy. But what about the other hundreds who still fly their Trump flags proudly across our town in their front yards? The same front yards I have to drive by every day. Or the hundreds who are still so quiet about systemic racism within our school system. All that does to me is scream, we don't care about you. So it's not always about what is blatantly said. What is said can be hurtful, but what isn't said does the real damage. And I can confidently say that what Groton hasn't said and what Groton hasn't done for Black citizens, specifically in this town over time, has done some damage. So for me today, this right here is not just a flag. It's a step in the right direction to securing a sense of safety for Black citizens of this town. It's saying we won't stand down. It's a history. It's a history that matters and that should never be erased. This is not just a flag. It's a message we are sending to the town today to show that our lives as Black people in Groton matter. We are sending a message today that Black citizens of Groton have a past that must be remembered, a present that must be valued, and a future that will be inspirational. This step we have taken today is a wake-up call to this town, and I hope they hear us. So now as we stand here today, we are a people who will dedicate our time and energy to amplifying Black voices in this town. As we stand here today, we are a movement that is unstoppable. As we stand here today, we are a force that cannot be reckoned with. And as we lift this flag today, we are history in the making. As I close out, please repeat this after me. As we stand here today, in this cold town of Groton, we are standing with a purpose. I can't hear you. We are standing, yes, we are standing with power. We stand here today because we truly believe that Black history matters. Black history matters. Black lives matter. Black women matter. Black non-binaries matter. And Black trans lives matter. Not just online. Not just when it's trending. But every single day. In the town of Groton. And I will do my part. To embrace Black history. And to make sure Black citizens have a voice. Each and every day. Because their lives are important. In this town and everywhere. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Looking at the program, I'm going to do an adjustment on the fly, which we learned to do very quickly in local government. I'm going to do the reading of names of historical figures because the Fitch High School students have to leave. Oh, they have to catch the bus. All right. So we'll continue on. The next speaker I'd like to bring up then is Larissa Tab. Larissa Tab is a marine science major attending UConn at Avery Point. She plans to graduate on 2022 with a focus on environmental justice.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here, and I'm really excited to be able to speak for all of you, and I just want to say that this turnout is honestly better than I was expecting, and being part of something such as this, raising a flag in front of such an important building, I'm so excited to be a part of this. So when I was asked to write this speech, I was really excited. I mean, this was a huge, huge opportunity for me to speak about something that's so important to me. But when I went to write the speech, I found that I didn't know what to write. So I asked myself and others around me, what does Black History Month mean to me? And I found that that answer was hard to type. There are so many emotions, it's hard to put into words. I realized this month is about celebrating a culture that has surpassed insurmountable odds, recognizing key African American role models in society, but also remembering the lives that have been lost to this systemically flawed justice system, where blacks are 5 times more likely to be incarcerated than white, where African American people make up 13% of the general population, but 40% of the prison population, where learning about African American history is simply an elective, where we need a Crown Act to wear our natural hair in a place of business. My job here today isn't to preach to you. It's to raise awareness about a problem that isn't being solved. I'm celebrating Black History Month. I will recognize, I will remember, and I will celebrate. To begin, I would like to remember those who could not celebrate with us today. They were unarmed African Americans who were killed at the hands of police within the past 2 years. Please say their names with me. Patrick Warren. Patrick Warren. Vincent Belmont. Vincent Belmont. Manuel Ellis. Manuel Ellis. Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor. George Floyd. George Floyd. Andre Hill. Andre Hill. Dante Wright. Dante Wright. Lindani Miani. Lindani Miani. Jason Walker. Jason Walker. Lauren Smith. Lauren Smith. And the many other names I sadly can't list today for you. To continue, I would love to recognize the key influential role models that are also African American in today's society. To start off, I would like to shout out Rashad Carter, who became a trooper in the city of Groton because he didn't see any other law enforcement that looked like him. Representation is so important. I would also like to recognize Dr. Kismika, a lead scientist on the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine team. Amanda Gorman, the youngest inaugural poet in U.S. history. Nicholas Johnson, Princeton's first Black valedictorian. And Raphael Warnock, Georgia's first Black senator. It's really interesting how in 2022, I can still list first-time accomplishments by African Americans. It's sad, and it speaks volumes. I hope I was able to open your eyes a bit today for you to understand the circumstances we are in is no myth. We as African Americans are resilient. And I want you to understand today, to acknowledge the maltreatment of African Americans in the United States. I'm celebrating Black history here with you today because of American history. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to call up Juliet Parker, who's also one of the Groton Town Council counselors. She's representing today the New London NAACP. Is also an executive member of the New London ACP chapter. She is here to share a few remarks on behalf of that organization. Juliet Parker and also Councilor Parker.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As we celebrate Black History Month and the raising of the flag, I am honored to speak as the Secretary of the New London branch of NAACP. Though I do wear many hats, but today is NAACP. The raising of the flag shows a promise to the community in celebrating the diversity of all, acknowledges the accomplishments, and honors those who have contributed to the town. It is an historic moment in Groton. There are many role models in our community who we should seek to acknowledge and recognize for their important contributions. I want to acknowledge those who have contributed to my community. Mrs. Williams, who was my chemistry teacher. Jamal Beckford, who's an engineer and was a former city councilor. Motivational speaker and former New London City Councilor Kevin Booker. I know he's here. Former city councilor Curtis Goodwin, for using his talents and encouraging artists to explore their talents. Healthcare workers, my friend Brenda, my friend Moniz. Police officers, Sergeant Miller, retired officer Bobby Harris, Sergeant Jennings, Officer Stanford, and Officer Bennett, both from the city and the town. And current RTM member and former town councilor, as far as I know, she was the first black woman, Jackie Massett, whose poise and calm demeanor has provided me with guidance in working with others. There are so many others that I would love to acknowledge, but too much, I only have so much time. It is important for us to move forward and encourage young people to strive to make their mark and be role models themselves for future generations. And we've said it's important that we reflect our community, be a part of our community, and give back to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Juliet. Thank you, Juliet Parker. That was amazing. I really appreciate your support today. I just wanted to note that Colton Harris was part of the speakers that were going to speak today. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it, but I did not want to go without mentioning his name as a huge support and a big, strong advocate in speaking. So if we can just give Colton Harris a round of applause for all that he does. At this time, I'd like to call Kevin Booker up to speak. Kevin Booker Jr. is an educator, an activist who is very passionate about his community. He lives by the motto, get comfortable being uncomfortable. It's my honor and to acknowledge my dear friend, Mr. Booker. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. Let's give Portia a round of applause. Let's give Groton Town Council a round of applause. Phenomenal. Good afternoon, everyone. Buenos tardes. Bonjour. Bon dia. Buongiorno. Ni hao. Memenjes. Dobre utro. Namaste. Sawadi. Chawim. Manga nang hapun. Como ye? Sopa wanang sung. Assalamu alaikum. Privet. Guten Tag. And as they say in Hebrew, Shalom. The reason why I start off in all those different languages is because those are some of the various cultures that represent New London County. I'm paying respect and homage to the various cultures who are here to acknowledge and celebrate Black History Month today. Because Black history is everyone's history. I said, when I say Black history, you say it's everyone's history. Black history is... Match my energy. Black history is... That's right. So before I begin, I would also like to give 20 seconds of silence for 400 plus years of systemic racism and oppression that happened right here on this land as we stand here. I'm not cold right now. I'm warm. And the reason why I'm warm is because we are here to acknowledge some of the things that have occurred right here in this land. And we also are here to acknowledge things that we're going to do to move forward. Okay? So the first thing I want you to think about in these 20 seconds, I want you to think about mutilation, terrorism, assault, massacres, lynchings, scientific experiments, genocide, rape, and systemic racism and oppression that happened right here on this land as we stand here today. Moment of silence. Imagine having people break into your home and kidnap you. You are forced to get into a truck with 100 or more other people. Some speak your language and some do not. You are driven to a location very far away from your home and forced into labor. You have no ideas where you are. Imagine your children you love, your children you treasure, your children who are dedicated and you are true to your heart. Your children were taken from you, but you are separated from them midway through your journey, never ever to see them again. Now imagine coming over on a boat, 600 to 700 people packed with you, where you can't even move. You have no idea where you are going, kidnapped and stolen, taken away from your family, your native language, all the customs and traditions that you have and you identify with, and no longer acceptable in this new land. You will be whipped and beaten if you use the name you were born with and the language that you know. And you are not even allowed to read or write in the new language properly. And you can be murdered just for learning how to read or write at any moment. You are someone's property for the rest of your life. I'm going to say that again. You are someone's property for the rest of your life. Imagine there was no way of getting out of bondage. Imagine, and you were just only considered 7/8 of a person according to the United States Constitution. You were only considered 7/8 of a person. When I think, I would like to also thank my ancestors for their sacrifice, their due diligence, passion, dedication, and their commitment to fighting against the odds and evils of injustice. Carter G. Wood's contributions that black people have made to this planet. The contributions. So today, as we're standing here, and we're standing here right now, I want you to think about and listen in to just a few of the inventions that I'm going to share with you today. Because a lot of times we make comments and we don't even realize the contributions that other cultures and races have contributed. But we make comments that come out of our tongue and our children are listening. We make comments and our children are listening, and we don't even realize who invented those particular devices that we are using. First one, the light bulb. The filament in the light bulb was invented by Lewis Latimer, who worked with Thomas Edison. The fireproof safe, the super soaker, video game console, 3D film graphics, the blood bank by Dr. Charles Drew. He died from his own invention because he got in a car accident right near a white hospital, and they wouldn't allow him to use that hospital. Dr. Charles Drew. Elevator design, the Peacemaker Control Unit. Railway telegraph, the air conditioning unit, the cell phone. We all have our cell phones. Henry T. Sampson. 300 plus peanut products, George Washington Carver. Potato chips, the traffic light when we're driving. You come to a traffic light, I think of Garrett Morgan right away. The mop, the mailbox, the lawnmower, the almanac, fire extinguisher, the TV remote control, the bicycle frame, refrigeration, the golf tee. I thought black people didn't play golf. Portable pencil sharpener, dry cleaning. All these are just a few of inventions that were invented by African Americans. Just a few. There are thousands of other inventions. Thousands. And then we think of music, gospel, rock and roll, R&B, rap, which means rhythm American poetry. You need to have similes, analogies, and metaphors in rap. Rock and roll. The first rock and roll song was recorded by an African American, Rocket 88. The reason why African Americans were not given the credit for rock and roll is because during the 1950s, they couldn't put their faces on albums. White families would get upset because their children were listening to that music. So they had to get white artists in order to play rock and roll that was created by black people. So when you look at rock and roll today, it's not, people don't look at rock and roll as something that black people invented. Jazz, ragtime, blues, folk, and bebop. Those are just some of the music, but we always look at it and we say, I like that music, I like that artist, but I can't come in proximity with someone. Proximity allows us to be able to understand each other a lot better. Proximity helps us to understand why we are here to celebrate this today. Proximity helps us to understand why we need to have Black history in all of our schools. Proximity allows us to understand why we need to continue celebrating and acknowledging the history and the struggles of Black people in America. Because Black history is
Everyone's history.
Black history is
Everyone's history.
There are 3 poems I'm going to share with you as I get ready to close out. One was written 3,000 years ago by a great king by the name of Hannibal, by the Romans during the First Punic War. The second one was I Too Sing America. And the third one, and I'm going to take you on a journey, was If I Fell. Expene halibalam, kolibas senduke sumo enwenius, hikis konan capit Africamaro. Talks about Hannibal. Hannibal came into Rome. He had a vision that his people would not be in bondage. That was 3,000 years ago. He said, I'm coming to the Romans. The Romans recognized his greatness as an African king. And then Langston Hughes, years later, in 1925, he said, I too sing America. I am the darker brother, They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh, ha ha ha, eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll sit at the dinner table. No one will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too sing America. If I fail, if in my quest to achieve my goals, I stumble or crumble and lose my soul, those that knew me would easily co-sign. There was never a life as hard as mine. No father, no money, no chance, and no guide. I only follow my voice inside. If it guides me wrong and I do not win, I'll learn from my mistakes and try to achieve again. That 16-year-old said, I'll learn from my what? Mistakes and try to achieve again. My white brothers and sisters, as you stand here today, as we leave out of here, it's not about guilt, it's what you need to take in today. What you need to really focus on today is, how do you start having those authentic conversations? How do you start having those conversations with your family members who really don't want to have those conversations? And looking at people as human beings. We all want to be treated as human beings. If I rub my skin on you, you're not going to turn black. Okay? It's about proximity. Us just coming together as one. Being as one, and not just celebrating Black History in 1 month. Black History is 365 days in a year. And let's continue doing this and continue celebrating each other and coming together as one and fighting for this together. And then pushing each other and encouraging one another to be better and coming in proximity with each other. And I'm going to leave you with one last quote by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Because Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, and he always said, one of the things he would say is, never, ever, never. We have known humiliation. My papers are all jacked. We have known humiliation. We have known abusive acts. And we will rise up only with the weapon of protest. But if you can't fly, then run. And if you can't run, then walk. And if you can't walk, then what? Crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving what? Forward. You have to keep moving forward. So there are many people in your life who may say, no, I don't want to go in proximity to those people. So you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, are you going to continue being in your box, being comfortable? Because I shared a story with you in the beginning. Those people were not comfortable. Those people, my ancestors, were not comfortable coming over here when they were kidnapped and stolen. But they made something out of this nation, and they contributed to this nation when everything was taken away. So I need you to get comfortable being uncomfortable so that we can move our nation, our community, the town of Groton, New London County. I don't care about the rest of the state. Being honest, forward. We can be an example for this state. Thank you. Black History is...
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Sorry. Thank you so much. That was amazing. I appreciate that, Mr. Booker. At this time, anyone who has a slip and is willing to come up and do a few reading of names of historical African Americans. Some of these names that I have chosen are not names that we often hear. They're names that normally we hear, like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Jackie Joyner Kersey, but a few of these names are names that just open our eyes, and I encourage you to do more research. I leave you with the fact of read more, learn more, and that's how you can do your part in the community. The name that I'm going to read first is Shirley Chisholm. Was relentless in breaking political barriers with respect to both race and gender. In 1968, Chisholm became the first black woman elected to U.S. Congress, representing New York's 12th district for 7 terms in 1969 and 1983. In 1972, Chisholm became the first black candidate for a major party's nomination for president of the United States. Why did I never hear about her in school? And the first woman to run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. Chisholm remarked the words that will resonate today, that if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And I leave you with that, and I encourage everyone else to read that has a thing, and we'll close. Thank you. Who'd like to go?
I have Sojourner Truth, an escaped slave who lost her family, her loved ones, and children to a particular institution. Turned her pain and her Christian faith into triumph by helping others, especially women, recognize their worth.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, Reverend.
Yep.
Benjamin Oliver Davis Sr. is the first African-American general for the U.S. Army. He battled segregation by developing and implementing plans for limited desegregation of the United States combat forces. In Europe during World War II, in the throes of segregation for 4 decades, he commanded troops in Liberia and the Philippines, where his unit was famed Buffalo Soldiers. In 1940, he was promoted to Brigadier General by President Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Robert Abbott founded a weekly newspaper, The Chicago Defender, and turned people's attention to other issues afflicting blacks in the early 20th century, including Jim Crow segregation, the presidency of Woodrow Wilson, and the deadly 1919 Chicago riots that mirrored recent day demonstrations seen in Baltimore and Ferguson, Missouri.
Thank you. Jesse Jackson helped build on what Shirley Chisholm did in 1972. He ran and won 5 Democratic primaries and caucuses on a minuscule budget. With his second presidential campaign in 1988, he established himself as the leader of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. He won 11 primaries and caucuses and finished as runner-up to Democratic nominee Michael Dukakis.
Richard Allen, a former slave, preacher, abolitionist, and educator, is considered the founder of the African Methodist Episcopal AME Church in America. His home and birthday, AME, were stops on the Underground Railroad. Recognizing that former slaves and freedom needed education, he opened a day school for black children and a night school for adults. Oh, the glasses. I got it. Go ahead.
Oh boy. August Wilson made his life work and his world-class art out of the drive to document, explain, and ratify the everyday lives of African Americans and to treat those experiences with epic ambition. Between 1984 and 2005, Wilson produced what he called the American Century Cycle. It consists of one play for every decade of the 20th century, a trajectory that went from the aftermath of slavery through the Great Migration and the Civil Rights Movement to the dawn of gentrification.
It is a big honor for me to talk about a famous scientist, black scientist. I'm a scientist by training myself. I have 3 degrees in chemistry, and I'm a professor at UConn. So I'm talking about Katherine Johnson, was a physicist and mathematician whose wisdom and accuracy with numbers was so highly regarded that her sign-off was necessary for NASA to modernize itself with digital computers. It was also Johnson who helped to calculate the orbit for the 1969 Apollo 11 flight to the moon. Oscar-nominated actor and Golden Globe winner Taraji P. Henson brought her life to the big screen in the critically acclaimed movie Hidden Figures. Thank you.
Serena Williams. Her resume boasts 23 Grand Slam titles, the record. 6 U.S. Opens, 7 Wimbledon titles, 7 Australian Open, 3 French Opens, 4 Olympic gold medals, 23 double titles, and a career Grand Slam. Williams has won enough awards for several lifetimes.
Okay. Madam C.J. Walker, Sarah Breedlove, was a poor washerwoman trying to cure dandruff and banish her bald spots when she mixed her first batch of petroleum and medicinal sulfur, which started her on the path to become a millionaire entrepreneur. By the time she died in 1919 in Westchester County, New York, in a mansion, she had defined stereotypes, provided employment for thousands of women, and donated more than $100,000 to civic, educational, and political causes.
So I ended up with 2. So I have Mary McLeod Bethune, turned her faith, her passion for racial progress, and her organizational and fundraising savvy into the enduring legacies of Bethune-Cookman University and the National Council of Negro Women. Under President Franklin D. Roosevelt, photos featuring her with the President or First Lady ran prominently in black publications, helping to normalize the notion of black faces in high places. Henrietta Lacks was an accidental pioneer of modern-day medicine. As a 31-year-old mother of 5, she was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Lacks' cells played an important part in developing the polio vaccine, cloning, gene mapping, and in vitro fertilization. The HeLa cell line has been used to develop drugs for treating herpes, leukemia, influenza, and Parkinson's disease. They've been influential in the study of cancer, lactose digestion, sexually transmitted diseases, and appendicitis.
Sidney Poitier. In 1964, the legend became the first African-American to win an Academy Award. The films that he created in 1967 all centered around race and race relations and tapped into conversations everyday black folks were having around their dinner tables. He directed a number of important cinematic moments for black folks, including Uptown Saturday Night, Let's Do It Again, both of which he starred in, and the iconic comedic Ebony and Ivory pairing of Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder in Stir Crazy. I didn't write it. I was thinking that, too.
Thank you. Before we close, I just want to again thank everyone who made this possible. Becca for making the buttons. I don't know where you are, Becca. Please thank her for that. And anyone that I missed from being part of this. I also want to thank the town staff for putting together these gifts. If you guys could wheel them all over so I don't push the mic. I'd like to bring forward back our comptroller and give her a token and thank you from the town of Groton for all that she has done and is doing. And don't forget us down here. Remember what you said. ed, education. We have the superintendent here. So thank you, a token, and thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you. Thank you. I also would like to welcome up Andrea Stanberry as well. I have a little token for you from the town. That's why. I have it right here.
You got her?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you again, and just a token to wear this bag strong, Groton proud.
Thank you.
Yes. Kevin Booker. Is that him? Is that Kevin Booker? Thank you again. I know you're over in New London, but you make sure you bring that bag all around New London. I want to see it. Anytime I see you out speaking in New London, I want to see the Groton bag. Thank you, Kevin. And Juliet Parker. It's a great bag for the budget book that's coming up, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Larissa Tab. Right here.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Great job. Thank you.
You can advertise Groton when you're down at the Yukon Avery Point. Wear it proud. Thank you so much. Again, in closing, before we sing, we're going to close, and I apologize for running over, and I'm sad that we didn't get the students to read, but I think they got to see the flag raised, and that was an amazing part of the ceremony and the singing. So at this time, I'm going to bring back Pastor Coleman and Raven up to sing. I want to thank everyone so much. It means so much to me to be here, to stand up here, to see how this turned out. And I did stack the agenda nice and large, but we are in the midst of a pandemic, and I didn't know who would come or who couldn't make it. So I thank you for the people who stayed to the end and made it through this. So let's close with Amazing Grace. It was a choice that I had picked because in every religion of some form, Amazing Grace is sang, and it's a well-known way to come together in closing. Thank you.
Thank you, my beautiful sister. Yeah. Let's give it up for my sister. Yeah. Let's give it up for her, Town Councilor Larissa Bordelon. And also our fabulous, wonderful, he's amazing, Mr. Andre Baumgartner. Thank you so much. Give him a big round of applause. What a fabulous job they did today. We're so blessed to have all these wonderful town councilors here today with us. And Senator Summers, thank you all so much for being a part of this today. And our comptroller, what an honor. You are fabulous. I bow down to the Queen. You're fabulous. Thank you all so much for coming out today. This is a rendition of Amazing Grace, but it gives a lot of love to the town.
I'm interrupting you because I forgot 2 more bags. I apologize. Raven, thank you for coming.
It's all good. Oh, thank you.
Pastor Coleman.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good. So back to what I was saying. Not many people know this, but the song Amazing Grace, some of our historians are very familiar, but I'm not sure if our youth know. But the song was actually written by a Caucasian man who realized the pain and the aching of his heart after he was whipping one of his black female slaves on board a slave ship. He literally had a moment where he was whipping her, and he stopped in the middle of it and broke down in tears. He was an enslaver, a master, and he broke down in tears, and he begged the black woman, the slave, for forgiveness. And then he went downstairs under deck of the ship, and he wrote Amazing Grace because it touched his heart, and he realized that we are all one. And this song that I'm about to sing to you today is so important because I stand to you today. I am raised by so many beautiful women, but a part of the plethora of women that have raised me are 3 fabulous black women, including my mother. I also have been raised by 2 very strong Italian women as well. And I also have been raised by Turkish and an Indian Punjabi aunties, and they were all strong, beautiful maternal forces in my life. And also another, I grew up as the only little black chicsa going off to to the synagogue when I was little as well. So I have Jewish aunties as well. So I was blessed to have an upbringing that had a mosaic of diversity, and that is who has made me the strong black woman I am today. Black women, Jamaican women, Italian women, Jewish women, Punjabi women, and Turkish women, and all the beautiful, strong uncles and fathers that were married to them as well. And so I just want to say that we are all one today, and I stand here today a proud mother of my biracial son, Weston Warren, who's sitting over there. And that's my little guy. And that's his Italian auntie right there next to him who helps me raise him. So let us all realize that we are all one body. And when you hear this song, it's a different take on Amazing Grace, because today I want all of us to realize all the beauty of the brown and black that is here, but I want us to all look at our fabulous white allies that are here. It is so important that you're here today. Every white ally, I want you to know that when you go back home, you have a responsibility. You know you have those two older people probably in your family that are a bit closed-minded, or you have those two people that make inappropriate jokes at work. Reach out to them, love on them. The answer to the problem is not to say, oh, okay, I want to change everything. Let me get 5 new black friends. That's beautiful. That's great. That's wonderful. We want to be friends with you. We're all family here. But the real impact is for you to reach out to your common white brothers and sisters that aren't as open-minded and as loving as you. You're blessed and wonderful to be here today, and we appreciate all of our white allies. We need you to bring more friends, bring more family members here, because we are stronger in numbers, because we are one body in Christ. We are all one. We are all God's children. Can we give an amen for that? Yeah. We are Groton strong. And now I will close us with this song. Please pay close attention to the words. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now that respects equity, inclusion, and diversity. We thank Portia and Andre for the hard work they've done today. Amazing Groton, how sweet the town, with folks both brown and black. We stand with white allies who realize we are stronger when we love as one. For amazing grace, how sweet the sound, and Groton shall be loved by all. Ideja Olon Rulaja, Kama Fiku Yarawa, Kama Farun Yarawa, Ideja. Everyone say Ideja. Ideja.
ruleja, kama fiku yarawa, kama farun yarawa, ideja oh. I say ideja, you say oh. Ideja oh. Olon ruleja, kama fiku yarawa, kama farun yarawa, ideja Olon ruleja, kama fiku yarawa, kama farun yarawa. Amazing Groton, how sweet our town that celebrates Black history. Today is February 1st, but we know Black history goes all year round.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, everybody. That concludes our day, and I look forward to continuing to grow diversity in our community and more celebrations. This may be the first kickoff, but I hope that this starts and someone else takes the reins and continues on. I thank you for everyone who made it out and everything that everyone has done today, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Honey, thank you for inviting me. This was excellent.